Yeah, he's
All right, it is 6 p.m. on Tuesday, November the 23rd. We'll call to order this meeting of the Murphysboro City Council, and I would ask that we would all rise, and Don will lead us in the invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you for the cool weather outside and the memories it brings to us about family gatherings that many of us will have this week. We come to you in a spirit of thanksgiving, and we just hope that all the travels that we're looking forward to and all those who are coming to us would be safe. As always, we pray for all of those who are overseas serving in the military, and we pray, Lord, that this meeting tonight would be honorable to you and that the decision we would make would be in your will. We pray all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Humsaker, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Hughes. Here. Alderman Curry-Witzman. Here. Alderman Campos. Alderman Austin.
Here.
Alderman Brown. Alderman Pittman.
Here.
Alderman Urbis.
Here.
Alderman McComb.
Here.
Alderman Bastian. Alderman Gladden.
Here.
Mayor Stevens.
Here. And I thank everybody who is here, because I know that this is a busy week and many folks have plans to get out of town and whatnot, so thank you for being here. First, we have a consideration of council minutes from November the 9th, 2021. I'd entertain any questions or amendments to the minutes at this time.
The only thing is there was a typo there. It's just there was a T that was missing on trucks, I think, on page 4. About 3 quarters of the way down, consideration of purchase of new trucks.
Rux? Okay.
Teddy Ruxpin.
New trucks.
All right, anything else on the minutes? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the consideration of accounts payable registers. Put it in your packet this evening. Register 328.
I have one question.
Ms. Hughes?
On the Atlas Outfitters, and that's yours, Steve. Chief, is that Spiller Funds that are paying for that?
Yeah, that's Spiller Pays funds. That goes along with the cold water ice rescue suits that we've
Okay,
purchased on
yeah.
the grant.
Okay, is the next one also Spiller Fund?
No, the banner fire equipment,
Yeah.
that's a repair. That was a collar on a seam light that was broken.
Oh, okay.
And they had to
All right.
replace it.
I have one on page 7. Scott, was this 11,000 sort of a catch-up from the
Yeah.
years?
Yeah, I normally do 3 catch-ups a year, but I've only done 1 so far this year, so this is a catch-up with a catch-up.
Okay.
So we're still
I
within
was
budget.
wondering if you gave yourself this giant, nice raise.
No.
Scott, what do you want one?
Well,
Well, of course he does. Of course he does. Doesn't I?
Would it be better each month rather than having a bill like this?
Yeah, I
Is
wondered
it better?
that too.
Well, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, it was just my fault because I didn't get around to billing it more frequently than I usually do.
Well, I didn't know if it'd make it easier on you, if we paid you more every month or,
That wouldn't be necessary. I should be back to the regular schedule next year.
okay.
Will we have another one like this in December probably? No, this catches you up. Thank you.
Any other questions on the bills?
Make a motion. Go ahead, I'll just move approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Alderman Gladden, a second from Ms. Hughes. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, then we go to our committee and commission reports. Up first, we have budget and finance chaired by W.J. Pittman. W.J.?
Thank you, Mayor. We have no items under old business. Under new business, we have financial statements prepared by Scott Evans. Scott?
Thank you, Nate. So I didn't get a chance to talk about these reports at the last meeting, so I brought them back in so I can discuss them a bit. So what you have in front of you is the December 31st balance sheet. So this essentially just for reference only, this has already been audited, you've seen this before, but we need to compare it to the current reports to give some reference. So at the end of December, the city's total assets were $24,292,000. Total debts were $13,647,000. And so our equities were $10,654,000, or $645,000, which is the balance. So if you flip over to page 2, so now, and unfortunately, the machine at the city cuts that number off every time. You can't see everything, but so the assets increased to $25,456,000 at the end of the total liabilities was down by about $300,000, mostly because of the EPA loan payment, $13,308,000, and the equities increased to $12,147,000. So if you look at those two snapshots in time, you'll see that obviously September looks even better than the year end. And so the next page is the income statement for the 9-month period. So as you can see, each column is a different fund that we have in the city, and at the bottom basically is the bottom line of what each fund does. So as I've been reporting for quite a few months, or most of the year, the general fund is showing a surplus of $1.1 million at the end of September. Other notables, we do have a small loss in the emergency management. That was just because of some sirens that cost more than anticipated because of various inflationary factors, that type of thing. So there are funds in that fund to absorb that, so it's not like it's a huge deal. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. And you'll notice the water sewer, we have a $75,000 loss through 9 months. And that's a little bit misleading, but well, I guess it's not either. There's a large bill for, Tim, just help me remember where this was. Was there a sewer line replacement on Shoemaker?
Yeah, we had a manhole collapse on Shoemaker Drive and 17th Street.
Yeah, and that was about $100 grand.
Yeah.
So that's in that number. So you take that out, we actually were somewhat to the good. But, you know, I guess my point would be, those things always happen, and we never know when they're going to happen. So, yes, it's somewhat of an anomaly, but, you know, we should always, in our thinking and our billing and in our rate setting, we should always be thinking that these things are going to happen versus that they're not going to happen, right? So, so anyway, that's the figures for each fund. Any questions on those two reports so far? The income tax receipts. This month we have received $65,209. That continues to exceed my expectations. That's the most we've received in a November allotment in the 8 years of this report. So the income tax must continue to be rolling into Springfield, I guess, because we get our share. So, and then the sales tax for the month is $341,133, which of course includes home rule tax as well. But that has kind of reversed the trend. You know, if you remember the last couple of months, we kind of hit a peak at the 354. It went down at 337, and it has bounced up a few $1,000s to 341. So, again, all of which are majorly higher than our last years. So that continues to be a nice, pleasant surprise. And then the only other thing I have on the very back page, this is the same information that you would see on the balance sheet on page 2. This is just the cash. So if you look at the cash in bank and CDs and the money market citywide, the amount was $7,088,000 at the end of September, which could be a little bit artificially high because we might have had a property tax payment in there that hadn't been dispersed to the pensions funds right as of that date. So again, this is just one day at a time, so take it with a grain of salt. That's all I have. Any questions on anything?
I have a question. Back to that first schedule, the income tax receipts voucher. Is it possible that somebody in Springfield is making a mistake and sending us too much money?
Well, anything's possible. Anything's possible. And believe me, I have had that same thought numerous times when it comes in, and I'm thinking, but, you know, in the 13 years that I've been doing this job, I've never seen them either make a mistake, I guess, or fess up to a mistake. And I would think if they gave us too much money, if they
Will
will
ask for it back.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm not gonna say that's never gonna happen, because it could potentially, but, I can't imagine the bureaucratic, entanglement to get through to even find the answer to that question, really, because you might have to talk to 4 different departments, and then they would probably say, well, no, we're doing it exactly right.
Don't ask.
Right.
I did have a question too, Scott. So you've said in the past that that's based in part on census. Do you know when
Yes.
the new
Yeah.
census
Well,
kicks
I mean,
in? or-
it is certified, you know, so our new number is, whatever it is, 7,045 or some number like that. You know, we lost 700 plus from the previous number. But they're still using the $7,970 per person census number, as of this month's allotment. So I don't know when they change that. You'd think it would be on their fiscal year,
Yeah.
but we've already kind of passed that, so maybe it won't happen until July. I don't know.
Somebody figures they have to look at this.
The last, and 10 years ago when we had a census, within a census within months, I mean, we're talking 1 month or 2 months, they reduced us significantly.
I
So
think
if that
probably-
surprises me, they're still going
Well-
on the old census number.
I think the census was so late this year, and
Yeah,
and
that
it
could
was
be.
so late being certified because of COVID, that everything has pushed. That's pushed the Illinois Department of Revenue back too. I
Yeah.
believe.
Thank you, Scott. That's the last item under new business. Any public comment under budget and finance? Hearing none, we can move by budget and finance.
UWJ, that takes us to Building and Grounds, chaired by Mr. John Urban. John?
Thank you, Mayor. We have no old business, we have no new business. Do we have any public comment or comment from the council?
I guess I would just mention that I'm always happy to see the lights go up at Town Center Park and Smizer Plaza, and I'm very thankful to all the volunteers that helped make that happen.
That really lights up the city.
Yeah, it really does.
All right, we can move out of building and grounds, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Urvis. That takes us to Community Relations, chaired by Mr. Mike Austin. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. There is no old business, and under new business, we have a couple items. One is Mike Bastian called me on Friday and then called me again today regarding participation in the hometown Christmas tree lighting. He is asking for us to, he has committed the alderman to a table and a tent on December 3rd at 6 o'clock. He asked if we could all be there by 5:15 to help set up, and then it actually starts at 6 o'clock. So December 3rd at 6 o'clock is when it will start, and Mike is asking for alderman support at 5:15 to help set up and distribute. Okay? Secondly, under new business is consideration of request from the Murphysboro Scouts, and that is to stuff the tent Saturday, December 11th, 2021, and we have Scott Satterley with us this evening. Thank you, Scott.
Again, my name is Scott Satterley. I'm on the Scout Volunteers here in Murphysboro, and Steve Duman is with me too. Between the two of us, we probably got 30 or 40 years of scouting as adult leaders. So at least I know I got 17, so who knows what Steve's got? 20, so. But about this time last year, you guys were on Zoom. I came to your Zoom meeting and requested that we were having challenges in our scouting for food Last year, they weren't allowing us to go door to door and put bags out and everything. This year, we were back to normal, and I must say, Murphysboro stepped up to the plate. I've been tracking numbers for 5 years, and this is the highest year in 5 years. In Murphysboro, we collected 5,818 items for the food pantry during our scouting for food last weekend. The most highest that I have tracked is 4,600. So we've definitely exceeded. However, though, in talking to Megan Austin, the director of the food pantry, they still have challenges there. One of the challenges, they got their government allotment last week, and it normally is like 2 pages long. This time it was a half a page. So the scouts were ready to step up and help them get through it again. So we'd like to make a request to the city that we have another stuffed tent event for Saturday, December 11th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. At your down at the Dom Administration Building in the parking lot. We put up a couple tents like we did last year, and people can bring, drop off donations and everything. Last year during that event, we collected 1,200 items plus almost $600 in cash in check. And that goes a long way for the food pantry themselves because they can get that food at discounted cost. So we're here tonight to request permission to do this again, and we would get some nice flyers out like we did last year and try to promote it and see what we can get for the food pantry again. I know we were successful last weekend. I hope it doesn't affect, but I think everybody's recovering from COVID, and I think everybody's ready to help. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much for all that you do for the community. We really appreciate it. And I really appreciate it. I don't remember what it was I forgot or dropped or something in the tent last year when I was dropping some stuff by my cell phone or something.
It was a gift card.
Oh, it was a gift card. And that was like a gift card for my mother or something. It's like, good Lord. Don't trust me with anything valuable. So I'm sure we want to approve this.
I would make a motion that we participate or allow them to have the stuff that's event on December 11th.
I second it.
Okay. So, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries. And with that takes us out of community relations and into public improvements.
I do have a couple questions, Mayor.
Sure, Mr. Urban.
Actual account. Scott, that 5,800, was that from the door-to-door, or did that include ones that people took to the food pantry directly, do you know? Or?
That would include both, that we were able to track if we knew, we've been getting Facebook messages and phone calls and stuff all week since last Saturday. We've been going back and getting stuff and taking it and putting it in the drop box and giving it to Megan. I don't know if she's calling and giving us additional, but that was the most recent number as of tonight, because we had another donation tonight.
Well, that's great, because I knew you were asking. Scott for Food said you could do either one, so I was just checking that.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
How many scouts do you have now?
In the older scouts, which is basically 6th grade, about the second semester of 5th grade, all the way up to 18. Right now, we have just a little over 20 boys, and we have 5 active girls. And the 2 different troops. In the Cub Scouts, we're probably talking 30 to 40 scouts, probably around 40 scouts right now, active. They took a big hit during COVID. Parents just didn't want to meet in person, and Zoom wasn't the right thing. The kids were burned out after school.
Yeah.
You spend all day on Zoom, and then they wanted to have a meeting, and they weren't doing it. But we're rebuilding our numbers. So
Very good.
We're rebuilding again. Getting there.
Thank you.
I applaud your work, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, I'll be out of town Friday, unfortunately, so I can't be there.
Okay. Do we have any other commitments or anybody that do that on December 3rd at 6 o'clock? Okay. Mike Bastian has just asked for us to be able to have enough people there to man the table. Okay.
All right, very good. We'll come out of community relations and go to public improvement. Under public improvement, Mike Bastian's absence, I'll handle these. We have no old business. Under new business, I had this added discussion regarding the retaining wall at Fifth and Walnut Street. As a part of the improvement of that intersection, there was some stamped concrete that looks like brickwork at the base of it. It is not a sidewalk per IDOT's standards because there's not a break between the traffic flow and the stamped concrete. But regardless of that, when you look at that retaining wall comparatively to the brickwork there, the two kind of stand in stark contrast to one another. And I wanted to get City Council's feedback on potentially working with IDOT to perhaps enter into an intergovernmental agreement. I don't want the city to take over ownership of that wall, but if we were wanting to improve it, which IDOT's not interested in improving it, beyond what it is now, whether it be with a brick facade or some stacked stone or something that would look better, we would need to, have some kind of agreement there. And perhaps I could see if they'd be interested in, doing a 50-50 share on improvements as a part of continuing to improve, the way that our downtown looks and the entry to the community. So anybody have any feedback on that? Mr. McCall?
Well, it'd been nice if they was gonna do something for that wall to do it before put the sidewalk in.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they're not gonna be able to use any equipment on that sidewalk because it won't stand it. Can you put like the block, the decorative brick on the edge of the sidewalks and come up the wall? There's a room there, and just leave the old wall where it is and put the new up?
Well, I think that we wouldn't be doing anything as far as trying to disturb the current wall. It would just be trying to put some sort of facade on that so that it looks comparatively nice up against the stamped concrete brickwork.
Harold, can you gunite that wall? Or can it be gunite and make it look good?
No, I don't really know how much room there is between the sidewalk and the wall. That would be the only thing.
The sidewalk goes right up to the wall.
that's
doesn't
right.
it, Gary?
Okay, I was thinking the old sidewalk ran right up next.
Yeah, I just wondered if you could spray the gunite on there and,
Yeah, I mean, you can spray gunite. As far as decorative, I don't know what you're gonna get
yeah, I don't,
gunite like that.
you
Mr.
could-
Pittman?
Would we be able to reach out to maybe revitalize 6966 and see if they would possibly put a mural or something like that along that wall?
I approached IDOT about a mural there some time ago, and they will not approve a mural there because they believe that at an intersection like that it distracts drivers, as if not everybody is looking at their phones anyway. But that was the initial response I got from them regarding a mural there.
The first thing we need to do is, my opinion is figure out what we're thinking about doing and then get some estimates on it and see what it's gonna cost.
Well, I wanted
Are you
to,
looking as far as cosmesis? You're not looking for securing it in any way?
no,
Is that correct?
and IDOT has no maintenance records on that wall. I don't know how
I
long
wondered
it's
how old it was.
It's been there, but quite some time. I mean, it's about a foot thick poured concrete.
Yeah,
So it's pretty durable. But
well, and if it comes down, all those houses are coming down, probably not right
Right.
from that hill.
and I'd rather the state have that responsibility
exactly.
than the city. But I think that it does. That wall is at an intersection where there's just an incredible amount of traffic. We've got a lot of good things going on downtown. And I just wanted to read the council in on what I'd like to do, and that's just talk to IDOT and see what they might be willing to work with us on. Because obviously, as you know, you can probably spend as much money as you want to on something like that, and there's a multitude of options. Mr. Gladden.
Whenever I saw this on the agenda, I thought maybe you were going to talk about from where it ends to the next street, because it's pretty ugly with all of that, and then a jungle right there.
Sure.
We need to extend that.
Well, and I don't know that because there is no space between the highway and that walk, that you can legally connect a sidewalk there and make that a true sidewalk. Because if you did that, then it wouldn't be up to state specs, because you'd be ferrying people to an area where they're not supposed to be, because there's no separation between the pedestrian walkway and the highway.
There's a traffic light right in the middle of it. right
And there's
at
a
the
traffic light
intersection.
post in the middle of it, and we all know that people are using it as a sidewalk, but it doesn't meet sidewalk specs, and it's inside their right-of-way. So there are some complications. So I don't hear any objections as long as I report back and don't spend any money. Okay.
Yeah, we know how these walls go.
Yes, I know.
We're not making it a second memorial wall.
No, I don't have any grant money. So anyway, I tell you, Bratton got a gumball thing with his name out of it. Nobody's made me a concrete wall for years. All right, up next we have the consideration of amending the zoning at 501 Plum Street from SR2 to B1. We have a report from the Murphysboro Zoning Board of Appeals in our packet. The bottom line of it is that they recommend that the property be rezoned. We do have the property owner here with us in the audience this evening. Do you wish to address the council in any way?
If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to ask. My name is Colin Wasinski. I'm from Murphysboro. Yeah, if you have any questions,
Okay.
ask me while I'm here.
Todd, is that down there where they put the fence around all that
Yes,
property?
sir.
Now, well, you're talking about building your storage unit. Is that the property that the city give Walgreens? Did you buy that off Walgreens?
No.
Okay.
No, I bought that from William Boucher. He owned it for many years previous. I don't know what he ever did there.
Yeah, I know
Used to
that
be a house on that.
we vacated one alleyway down there to Walgreens, and they don't keep it up.
Mr. Blake, do you have anything to say on this?
The only thing, Your Honor, I know the report that's in your packet isn't signed, but the actual report did get signed by Scott Maloney as chairman of the Board of Appeals. I know when Sandra put the packets together earlier, she didn't have a copy of hand yet to include it, but that report is signed.
Okay. I would recommend we adopt this change. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
When do you anticipate starting that?
As soon as I can. I've got paperwork started with First Bank and Trust. But I've got to touch base with them and get that going again.
Thank you.
You probably need to see our code enforcement officer too before you get
Yep,
in down there too deep.
yep. That's actually the first meeting I've got to have with him.
All right, is there any public comment on public improvement? Hearing none, I'll move out of that to Public Works, chaired by Gary McCollum. Gary?
Well, there's no old business, and under new business, it's consideration of an order prohibiting the use of groundwater at Ameren Big Muddy location. I think everybody's got a print on it in their package.
We've done several of these, correct?
Yeah, we've done several of these.
Last one was by Cinnamon Lane.
And the next, after we approve this, I have a question for our attorney, but
I think we discussed it last time. I'll make a motion that we.
I have a question.
Just a second. Go ahead, no, I think.
What precipitated this being drawn up?
Well, that's where they used to, but they're supposed to dug everything out of the ground down there.
No, I understand that, but what precipitated us getting this now at this point in time to move forward? It's a curious question.
What had happened is that they are looking to get a no further remediation letter from IEPA.
Okay.
This is one of the steps they have to go through to get that. They have their plan that they've removed enough of the contamination from the ground, and then we've done these for different sites throughout the city.
Yeah.
Where after they've done their cleanup, then IEPA wants an ordinance for that specific site. So there's prohibition of using the groundwater in that area.
Did you make a motion, WJ? Second. Having a motion and a second. Everybody in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it.
Gary, if I could quickly, when I was looking at this, Richard, with Sandra recently, I called the EPA and I asked them if we had to approve one of these for each specific site inside the city limits of Murphysboro when it was requested. And they said no. They said most cities have a blanket ordinance that just covers all this. And I sent our ordinance that we already have that says you can't use groundwater anywhere in the city to them. And they said that if we made, a few changes, that it would work for every request like this that comes in. Has Sandra communicated that to you?
She did this past week.
Okay.
In discussing this ordinance, I told her I'd looked over it. It's, the standard ordinance that is used. In talking about doing these site by site with the previous code enforcement officer, he was, received the recommendation from Ed Cooney, who's an environmental consultant the city had used in the past, that it's better to do these site by site because it gives more oversight in the cleanups and seeing that whatever the individual site is, that the cleanup can be held more to whatever standards need to be done. As far as cleaning up the level of contamination that needs to be done. I don't know if there's a need for that because I don't know that anybody here is really going through and looking at the level of cleanup, because it's really IEPA that looks at what's been done and then gives that approval of no further remediation. If you would want us to look at just doing one citywide.
That's what I would prefer.
what Charlie
Whether it's
thinks
doing
about it.
individual sites or not, I don't know if.
Charlie, do you have any?
I read what, basically what Eric had said is, like what you were saying, so I don't know which way is one way better than the other.
I guess what he's saying is it gives us one more chance to hold up the process of them being finished if there's something
It would be if there was something
blatantly
that
that
would throw up a red
we
flag
think needs to happen.
between what's being done.
where they don't have
That
to
would
come
be
to
the
us
reason.
much if they
Not
are
having one
approved.
citywide, but it would be easy to do one citywide and just make sure that what's contained in this standard one that IEPA uses, but a lot of this language is form language that they require in a.
Well, I don't mind, it's not like this is a huge amount of money to create these ordinances, but it just always seemed like bizarre to me that we have this ordinance on the books that says you can't use groundwater anywhere in the city of Murphysboro, but then 5 times a year, we've adopted ordinance that says you can't use groundwater in the city of Murphysboro.
In this
And-
area.
Right, in this specific area. So, anyway, I just mostly wanted to make sure that she communicated that to you and your review.
Yes, and that's that was my understanding was with the previous code enforcement officer. He had gotten that recommendation from this prior environmental consultant the city had used in the past, that it's recommended, his recommendation at least, was to do it on a site-by-site basis so that it could be given further scrutiny if that particular site needed it.
Do you know what the specific difference is between this ordinance and our,
I have not yet.
there's nothing like,
Okay. Well, I won't continue to beat that dead horse, but I wanted to for a couple minutes anyway.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is consideration of replacing the UPS at the wastewater treatment plant. Brian, you want to speak on this?
Yeah, this is the device that a couple months ago died on a Sunday morning, and it basically filters the power coming into the plant to absorb any surge or provide additional power if there's a brownout, and it also provides power from the time we would lose power from Ameren until the generator would start and come up to full capacity. It does the SCADA system that controls the whole plant, the computer network, and the telephone system. Those things are all critical that we keep them protected. It is currently in bypass mode, basically meaning that we have no protection on that equipment right now. In talking with Pat, I think the infrastructure line item for the wastewater plant is pretty well spent for this year. So my question is, do we want to go ahead and proceed with that on this budget year, or do we want to wait a few weeks and stall enough that we get that bill after the first of the year and are in the new budget year?
Question.
Yeah.
Today, right now, if there's a brownout down there, how much is it going to cost us to repair that damage because we didn't move forward to replace the UPS?
Probably the most critical thing would be the SCADA system, and I have no idea. Pat,
Extremely expensive.
we'd have to call the company probably that built it to come start from scratch.
How much are you looking at on a replacement?
All this goes
We're only
back to-
talking about $5,000 here, I think.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we spent by
It's only
yesterday.
$5,500, right? And we could spend a lot more than that if we did have a complete outage or a brownout. Was this new when we put in the wastewater
It
treatment
was
plant?
installed with the plant. It's actually hardwired in. There's an electrical panel that's fed by this device.
I know this is a stupid technical question because I'm so illiterate when it comes to technology, but what's an expected life of something like this?
I would think it would have lasted longer than this
Yeah,
one.
that was my gut feeling, but.
And whenever I called, it was manufactured by Trip Light, and I probably had 10 phone calls with their tech support off and on trying to get it back online. And that model was probably out of production when it was installed.
Yeah, that doesn't
So
surprise me.
they probably got a deal on it,
Yeah,
and that's how we
sure
ended up
did.
with it.
And it was made on a Monday.
Do I have a motion to proceed with this as quick
I'd make
as
the motion.
we get it done?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it.
Let me make a comment, Gary, if I could, please. Let's don't let any grass grow underneath this thing.
I will send the email as soon as the meeting's over.
One other thing I'd like to bring up, it's not on the agenda, and I'm not asked for a vote on anything, but we had the trouble down there with the tanks. Had a lot of sand and stuff in them, had to clean them out. And I've talked to Pat about this. We would like to have the next money in the budget to do these tanks once a year. If we drain them down, there's nothing in the bottom, we don't have to clean it out. But that built up in that one till it tore the aerators up. And what was it, about 17,000 for 14 for them, Pat?
17 bottles.
We can get by without all that if we do this maintenance. It's never had any maintenance on it. Chester does theirs, I think, about once a year, and the only thing we'd be out is hauling there, we haul it out anyway. But I'd like to get some extra money in his budget to do that once a year.
What was the cost to do it this year, Gary?
Well, with the aerators, it was probably up between 24 and 30,000, Pat?
Just about 20,000. But their areas, they have a Samrock thing.
But it wouldn't
But
be
that's-
that much.
It would be about a tank, I'm thinking between 2 and 2,400 if there's nothing in it, Pat.
$500 to clean the second one
Okay,
out.
that's,
Me and the guy.
We
But
do
that's
it
with how many
before.
years since the plant was building up and,
Before, we got a hold of Samron, because trying to get it done in a hurry. It was over 2 weeks before they got out there, but we have another guy that has a crane. It works a lot cheaper than our guys. We rent their own equipment. The only thing we need to rent is a little bobcat that you stand on and a concrete bucket. We had to go through Samron to get all that before. We don't have to do that anymore. Our guys can clean it out. The only thing we're out money for is the rental on this little crane this guy's got.
So would $10,000 do it?
Oh, should,
Assuming
shouldn't
that-
Pat?
I believe so. I think I talked with Scott Sander last week. Yeah, we bumped a couple of line items up
Okay,
In anticipation of that, so
yeah.
I hope we have that covered.
okay.
We'll see when the numbers all mesh together.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up. I didn't know you guys had a meeting on it, but I did not. Since that plant's been open, we haven't had a maintenance program on them tanks. And we got to have one to do every year to save us what we went into the last time. The sand got so high in that tank that it tore the aerators up, and that's between $14,000-17,000 just for them. Now I think we did get to save some of the old aerators. In case one goes down, we can put it in, clean them up, and reuse them. But it just saves us getting hit with that all at once.
Sure.
Gary Barber, Scott.
Gary, I have a question. Do you think that the amount of sand or sludge or whatever it's called that built up in those is because it's been 5 years and they haven't had a maintenance program on it? Or do you think it had anything to do with that break that we had, that pushed it back?
Tim has started running the lines, and I don't know if Darren's involved in them,
And
but he's
that's
been
not
running
even
that
an
line.
intelligent question, I have no idea.
And he found 2 places that the bank had shifted and separated our sewer line.
Okay.
So when the river was coming up, what sand and dirt, it was pinning in that's a 36-inch line down there when you get close
Okay.
to the sewer plant. And he fixed both those. So he started a program where,
But some,
Ever
was
so
some of
often-
that buildup from that break?
well, we don't know that.
Okay.
It-
Been 5 years worth of.
But the thing is, it don't cost much money to drain a tank and look in the bottom.
I understand that.
No.
And I fully agree with that. I just wondered if we thought that if it had anything to do with that breakdown there that Tim was dealing with, or if it was everything to do with, it's just been 5 years and it should have been done before.
Well, it could be a little of both, but
Okay.
I think Tim found 2 places down there, and you 2 were separated.
Yeah,
I think he told me.
Since the plant's been built, we've had a lot of sewer main breaks. Manhole that collapsed, so I think they were all contributing factors.
Well, no doubt, the new plant won't take what the old plant took. You know, I mean,
There's not enough duct tape.
it does a lot more damage. But that, I just want to bring that to everybody's attention, so we got it in budget, we could get some money in there to cover once every year to drain them and clean them out. Is there any public comment on Public Works? Hearing none, Mayor, we can move out.
Thank you, Gary. That takes to public safety, chaired by Russell Brown. Have no old business, on a new business. At our last meeting, Ms. Campos brought up the tragic situation that occurred on 14th Street, and in conjunction with that, the fact that there are no sidewalks in the area. I thought about that, and I reached out to Harold Sheffer and also reached out to Kerry Minnis, who's the head of Greater Egypt Planning Commission. Kerry was and his group were the ones that helped us get the grant for the Safe Routes to School improvements at 22nd and 21st Street. And so I said, hey, would you be willing to help us look at grant money? It would obviously be a considerable amount because there's ditches on either side. This would not be a simple sidewalk pour by any stretch of the imagination. But he said that he would look at it, and I trust that he will, because we, of course, pay dues for them to do exactly that, and they do good work. So I've put it in their hands, and he said that, in the next couple of weeks, he would get with me to take a closer look at it. Mr. McCall?
Yeah, we got sidewalks, down to Fair Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you're gonna put them down either side of 14th Street out to the high school turn, you're gonna entice them kids to be walking by and almost on a major highway of the state. It is a state highway, and the closer them kids get to the road, the closer they get a chance of getting killed by somebody sideswiping somebody running a car up on the sidewalk. That was my only question on it. Would you be better off to put the sidewalk on Fair Drive to the junior high and then on down to 16th Street at the high school?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question. Obviously, we know what happened the other day, and, trying to improve that thoroughfare for people that are, I guess, going out to Dollar General or whatever on foot, and also perhaps going back and forth to the high school would be I haven't looked at that question, I guess would be the best way for me to answer.
Well, yeah, and I wonder, because, you think of the kids pushing and shoving each other around the highway coming from the junior high,
No.
darting out in front of a car or something on 14th Street, well, they don't go. And when they get up to Fair Drive, that sidewalk's quite a ways off the highway. I'm not, there's a ditch first, but I don't know how wide the state right-of-way is there for us to be able to put a sidewalk up. Those people aren't gonna want you up in their yards, I know.
I don't know how wide the right-of-way is either.
There's no shoulder there whatsoever to speak of, it's just ditches with
Straight off the
drainage.
road
Yeah.
to the ditch.
It'd be tough to put a sidewalk
Yeah,
down
it really
there.
would.
They typically want you just inside the right of way. However wide the right of way is, that's going to dictate what the sidewalk.
Well, it's usually a wide right-of-way, but,
It probably is, I don't know exactly how wide that is.
I just don't know if it's good enticing those kids to walk down by that highway that close to the road. That's whatever the council wants and whatever the state will allow you to do. But to me, it's making a more dangerous situation.
Usually they're putting those sidewalks 6 foot from the back curb, so before that sidewalk starts, they do want some separation there.
Well, I think, Carrie Menace and Greater Egypt have written dozens and dozens of these Safe Routes to School grants, and so I think they'll know what's typical, and before, we would enter into any kind of agreement or any kind of match money or anything, it would come before the council. Because it would be a very expensive project. Not saying that the state wouldn't fund it, maybe they would, but it definitely would be.
I
So,
know when we do field trips at Carruthers, we walk down Fair Drive, and so we are in the streets when we walk on our field trips, so that probably would be a good option.
On the west side of the street there, is it city limits all the way to the high school driveway off of 14th Street? No?
I used to own, I built many warehouses there, that's outside the city limits.
It just,
One
is
little-
And I know Not Cookie is on that side, it's outside the city limits, right past
So there is a
Suburban
section
Drive.
there that is outside the city, it's also floodplain.
So can we use
And
grant money?
This grant would not be eligible for the high school, it's just grade schools and junior high.
Right. So we would only be able to get grant money to go up to, from, or either side of Carruthers.
2 mile radius,
Or-
I mean, so
okay,
you
so-
can go 2 miles in any direction of high school.
On the-
I mean,
the grade
grade school there.
So-
There's actually no sidewalks on 16th Street either, is there?
no.
No, there isn't.
That's actually where most of your foot traffic.
Yeah, I mean, most of the kids aren't
Mhm.
going out to 14th Street from the high school.
No, they aren't.
That is
And
They
there's-
aren't.
I mean, probably, as every year goes by, there's probably less and less walkers from a grade school age than there, as there
Yeah.
used to be. There's,
That's why we come to high school.
say most of our traffic on, pedestrian traffic on 14th Street is not students, even though the Safe Grant to School might be our method of
Sure.
achieving a sidewalk there as much as we could, but I'd say, it's other citizens, like you said, going out to Kroger or Dollar General or somewhere like that, or live out that
Or
way,
even
coming back
past,
from
yeah.
town, that are on that road.
Well, one of the things that I was impressed with the last time was that the Greater Egypt and their employees actually put up cameras, and they were able to collect data on how many people were crossing and how many were, obviously school kids. As we look at this, maybe we can try to determine if there's something else that is more appropriate. But again, got to them, and I know they are very in evaluating these situations.
Most of the kids from high school walk up 16th Street to Illinois Avenue, and then they cut up to the Circle K up there at the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, that is typical path, and what they do at SIU when they build a new building, they figure out where the sidewalk's gonna be, and then they wait so long to see where the paths are, where they cut over to the building, And that's where they pour their extra sidewalk, because that's where by the wall.
Seen that many times.
Yeah.
All right, well, is there any public comment on public safety? Hearing none, we'll come out of public safety and go to personnel chaired by Ms. Barbara Hughes. Barb?
Thank you, Mayor. There's no old business. Under new business, we have consideration of approval to change the health insurance carrier. I'm assuming that Scott has information on that.
I don't have any tonight, I didn't know that was on the agenda, but.
We talked about it last
We
meeting.
talked about it last time. I know that I was on teleconference, but we did talk about it. We couldn't vote on it last time because it really wasn't on the agenda to be voted upon. I think that that you all decided on Health Alliance, is that
Yes,
correct?
that is-
And she did find out that SIH had signed with Health Alliance for next year. It was a lesser amount than any other insurance premium than what we had, but it is comparable coverage to what the employees have now with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Isn't that correct, Scott?
To my understanding,
That was my understanding anyway. So
Yeah.
I think we really I mean,
Yeah,
it's a formality that we need to vote to adopt this change in the health insurance carrier. I know that she has had meetings with employees to go over this with them.
Yeah, and Janie was here too.
Okay, that's good.
Minutes from last meeting say it was negotiated, the renewal rate down to 9.54%.
That
I'm
is
assuming that's
correct.
down to a 9.5% increase, or is that?
Yeah, that was a 9%, 9.5% almost
Which is
percent
less
increase,
than we
but
anticipated.
it was the other one, Blue Cross Blue Shield, what was that amount? Something exorbitant.
It was, they really didn't want to deal with it that much. The dollar difference was somewhere around $40,000.
Yeah, I was going to
better.
say, I thought that it was,
I don't know the exact percentage, but I know, the dollar amount was more than we could ignore. for
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Barb, did anybody call the union and let them know?
Actually, if you have, the way I understand this, Gary, if you have meetings with the employees and they are in agreement with this, if it's comparable, you do not have to go through the union to do it. The only reason that you would is if someone filed a grievance against us for that, for us changing. But in all fairness, it is a comparable policy to what they have now.
Well, I'm just talking about a courtesy call to let them know
That I
what's
do
going
not
on.
know. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's just a good deal to inform them what
Well,
you...
I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be mean here. I just don't think it's something that we have to do. I think it's something that Sandra probably, after we approve this, needs to send a little note to the laborers and,
The employee meeting was pretty well attended. I
yeah,
think-
that,
I think
it's
all
only the labor,
departments-
is it just the laborers that are affected
You
by
got the
this?
firemen and the police.
Oh, the fire and police, they don't have their own, it's, you guys are connected with the same one? So, she just needs to send a note to, the fire people and the laborers, I would assume.
Did you have something, Scott?
I just want to say the meeting that I attended was, probably attended by 20-ish employees throughout the hour or so. And I think most departments were represented.
Okay.
And I don't know if nobody had any issues at that time.
Major
Now,
concerns.
Things could have come up since then that I don't know about, but, so there was a lot of information passed out.
Darren, who's your union, sir, on your city? You got one, don't you?
Charlie? Oh, your stewards would
He was
be
here.
Stradling and,
Mike McCoy.
yeah,
Well,
McCoy.
they should call and just give the union an update, what they're doing, or don't change it. Keep them
Charlie.
from coming back, throwing a fit. It's just common courtesy, that's all. You may not have to do it, but,
Mr. Lee?
In years past, we kind of got away from it. But I think according to our bargaining agreements, the actual, even if the insurance is the same, you're supposed to form a committee. Each bargaining unit is represented by an employee. And part of what that does, in my opinion, even if it doesn't change, it's substantially similar, or whatever the terminology is, it kind of holds down the workers. Because as soon as you get a memo in the office saying that the insurance company and all the employees, here it goes, oh, they're gonna make this very clear. So if you have you establish a committee and kind of hit them first, kind of explain them what's going on, and they can go back and then they can kind of keep all that stuff under wraps or erupting. Also, from my own personal experience, I do know that the city, we offer a family plan to our employees. The city doesn't pay for that. I don't even think they don't even pay a penny. But it is available to the employees. But if you go on the marketplace, anyone that makes less than $150,000 as a family gets a $400 a month tax credit that goes towards any of those policies that you might get. But if it's offered by a spouse from their employer, that means they don't get that credit because they have to say, okay, I do have insurance available to me, even though it's not affordable, that tax credit is gone. So it would be nice in the future of 2022 or 23 or whenever we negotiate that, to form that committee if it's not too late, and remove that option if employees will be able to sign off on that and say, it's not available to me. Or I don't know how many people utilize that in the city, insurance. I mean, you're talking $1,600 a month for a family plan. It's really not affordable. You can find that cheaper through marketplace. So I think that was one of the reasons why a committee would be useful.
All right, definitely take that into consideration.
And we were doing that as recent as 2 years ago, still, I mean, because I've been to one of those insurance committee meetings, and
Yeah.
I don't know, we got away from it last year with COVID, you know?
I don't have any
That's
idea.
probably when it stopped.
Yeah.
All
A
meetings
few
kinda
years
stopped.
back, I was on that committee, and then the last time I wasn't.
Well, I think Gary, and Tim are right, and I think it's more than a courtesy. I think we have to give them the notice that
And
it's
I
not
don't
the end
see-
result, it's that you're going to potentially have a change. That I think you have to give the notice to them so that they're aware of that.
So do we have to, I mean, do we approve the change first and then let them notify them that we've approved the change, or do we?
I mean, I think we need to approve this change, and I think that if Sandra was here, I think she would say that inviting every employee, probably, if I'm thinking in her point of view, was meant to be even better than a committee of just a few, because, you know, the devil's advocate argument is that, you know, if everybody's allowed information, and they're not everybody's having to go to that one person on the committee to get the information. They can firsthand for themselves. So I got no problem with us having a committee, but I would say that we go ahead and approve this because we've not heard any formal objection from the union.
No.
Richard, do we have enough here to vote on this? 7?
Yeah.
You gotta have all 7 vote in favor? Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not suggesting that we not. I'm just saying I think there's a step. I'm not sure that we've made it that we do need in the future. I don't think just letting employees know is enough.
Okay, well, I think that we need to make sure that Sandra, she won't be back until what, week from yesterday?
I'm not sure when she'll be back. I know she's on
Next
vacation
Monday.
this week.
Yeah, and so, I mean, we just need to let her know that she needs to send something to them. And we could probably vote on this with with something on the motion.
And just make the motion that we are going
That
to
we
make
do
the
it
change
as the.
along with the notification to the
note
union.
Yeah, union.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Sustain.
All right. Motion carries.
Okay, next on the agenda of new business is the consideration of a possible new position within the police department. Become very apparent that in the last few years or so that we really have a need to create a new position in the police department. It's mostly due to state mandates and police reform that is requiring so much more in the way of recording and our increased paperwork. It's just increased tremendously, and we're going to see more and more of that over at least the next 3 years. We know that, as they've told us what's coming down. If we would approve this position to do this increased paperwork, the job would be called Police Operations Specialist. The pay scale would probably be very, very, very similar to that of a TC, telecommunicator. And it would be a FOP union job with an addendum to their current contract. That's really everything about it in a nutshell. I'm going to turn it over to Chief so that he can answer questions that you all might have about this, what they're having to deal with now and such.
Chief?
Yeah, like Barb said, there's a lot of different changes that's going to be coming down. Some already have, as far as our crime reports that you report through the UCRs to the FBI every year, is changing over to a new program under NIBRS, and it's going to take a lot more time breaking down numbers or getting more specific. It's really time consuming. When they first started talking about it a year or two ago, they even said it could end up taking one employee away just to do this. And we're looking at everything in general. There's not been a secretary or an admin assistant. We had Mike Laughlin that retired as lieutenant. He was the admin position that took care of about 80% of that. And when he left, myself and a couple of the other people split the duties up and trying to hold it down until we could figure out where it's all going to go. In the future, also, we know we've got the mandated on the body cams. It's going to come down in a couple of years. And when that hits, that's going to take probably one person to sit there and download every officer's camera. Every 10-hour shift is going to have to be documented. Reports are going to have to be sent back. Also, the use of force mandates that are going to come down on having to report almost any time you put handcuffs on a person or grab somebody by the arm to detain them. That's a use of force. Vehicle pursuit would be considered a use of force, and all that's going to be under the spotlight a whole lot more too. So there's going to be all kinds of different things that are coming with this. And for a department that's not had an assistant or a secretarial spot, and the reason we're naming it the Police Operations Specialist is going to be more specialized and detailed, not only to anything in that area, but also all the specialty items with the in-car cameras, the in-house video systems that we have to download for court cases, and all the storage for the body cams when they get here too. So it's kind of a overall, also training will be involved. There's more training mandates that already hit coming January 1st. In use of force, each officer's got to have 30 hours of mandated training, and they're specifying what has to be done for this 12 hours, this 6 hours, this 6 hours, and the other 6 hours. And the tracking on that's got to be very specific, and we just have to, it's just a position that, we feel that we've needed for a while to be able to help with basically the mandates and the paperwork and things.
And Laughlin pretty much did what is mandated now for the last year and a half before he retired.
When Roberts was here, he appointed him to lieutenant, so he basically went into that position. And when I came, we figured out that we could get a little more out of it. So the last year or so, I had him working in patrol, helping out in uniform shifts with the guys because we were so short-staffed.
Yeah,
We were 5 or 6
but
short
80% of his
and-
time anyway was spent on doing
Right.
this paperwork.
That's correct.
Is this going to be a clerical position?
No.
They won't-
Police
Yeah,
position.
no.
That's what I'm asking him for, but I want some clarification.
Some of what that person would do, if that's all you had, would be absorbed underneath this to help take care of all those kind of duties. But I think it's going to be about 80%, specialty work.
Is there going to be a lot of overtime involved in this? I'm just trying to figure out what you're going to be
Yeah, no,
Hour by the month?
yeah, it's gonna be by the hour, to be comparable, just like to the telecommunicator employee. Yeah, everything would be the same, close as far as the package deal for that.
What will they start at an hour?
It's gonna be right around 20 is
It's, yeah, I was gonna
what
say,
we've
it's right
looked at
around 20.
on the pay scale.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why this, and I can bring it up because Leslie don't work here anymore, these girls in the office up there are terribly underpaid by everybody else we hire. I mean, not criticizing what you're trying to do, but Catherine and the other people working that office up there, I don't think they make anywhere around $20 an hour, do you, Catherine? I mean, we're hiring new people and we're not treating the people that's been here for years. You know how I feel about that. Paying them up to standard, in my opinion, and nobody's on the council, but they're strictly unpaid. I don't know what we're starting a new girl out at, how much an hour. I haven't heard that.
Well,
But
the other option is we could hire a police officer, I guess, and we could do it the way we did it with Mike, and then we pay a little bit more.
well,
Quite a bit more, actually.
you know, the whole point I'm trying to make, we're creating a position. We hired a new code enforcement officer, and these girls been here for several years, and I just don't think we're treating the girls in that office up there with the respect that we do street, water, police, fire, everybody else. I think they should. I'm not against you hiring somebody to do this work,
I agree with you 100%,
but
that's not under my control.
I just like to know what budget's gonna be, how much that person with overtime and stuff is gonna make in a year.
Well, they
you know.
shouldn't really have any overtime to speak of.
I know pretty well what the girls make, and to me, I can say more about it, 'cause my daughter don't work up there anymore. But those girls are underpaid. Even, I feel like Sandra's underpaid, you know. Her scale, like now, she's doing 2 jobs. Well, she's on vacation, but, you know, I just think the girls in the Dom building are treated lousy by the pay period, but for the work they do. I'm not against you hiring somebody to do that. I just think we ought to go back in. I know they negotiated a contract for them girls, and the girls got no right to say, no, I don't think that's enough money, because the union can sign the contract anyway. When they negotiate so long and the employees don't want it, that business agent can sign that contract and they gotta live with it. But I think if we need to figure out how to get these girls a little more money working up there in the office. They do a hell of a good job, and,
Well, the agenda item is consideration of a new position within.
yeah, I know what it is.
And I do have to say this, I have a lot of respect for the people that work up at the Dom building. You know, it seems like every time I go into union negotiations, if I'm negotiating with the firefighters, I gotta hear about every other union in the city.
Exactly, yeah.
If I'm
And
negotiating with, you know, the clerical, I gotta hear about every, you know, I might as well just have one union for every employee in the whole town if I'm gonna pay everybody the same amount of money.
That's exactly right.
You know, and the work is different from one department to the next. It does, you know, two things can be true at the same time. It doesn't mean that they're not underpaid, but I don't think the comparison's fair.
Yeah.
But anyway, the situation is this. Chief, when do you believe that this hire ought to be made?
In the next couple months.
Okay.
Basically, what we,
Sandra and Scott and I met
yeah,
over budget, and so we kind of put it in the budget to go that direction. So
Oh.
it's covered in there also.
and Mayor, in all fairness, the only thing we're asking at this point is for council to vote to create a new position. It then has to go to the union with a job description and a pay matrix. And if they agree to that, then it would be added as an addendum to that. Now, that's gonna take more than a couple days probably, you know, when we
Sure.
think about this logically. So then, once that's taken care of with the FOP, then it has to be advertised, we take apps, we do interviews, then we hire. We're talking spring, I bet you anything.
All right, well, do we,
We just
I get the
need
feeling
to-
we're not ready to vote on it tonight.
And, well, are we or are we not? Why do you think we're not?
Well, I don't know.
Did you
I haven't heard a motion, and I've heard a lot of questions, and
Well,
usually
I've
that
heard-
means
Chief,
we're not
have
ready.
you got somebody in
I'll make
mind?
that motion to hire that position.
You got somebody in mind that can do the job?
Well,
No, we
there's
have
two or
to
three people
advertise.
that's good that I think that will apply.
We have to
See how the
advertise.
process goes.
Well, I don't see why we waste money advertising the job. If he's got 3 candidates, let him interview them and see which one's the best fit.
I don't think with the contract, if you're making a new, with the FOP contract, if you are making a new position, that you can just hire for that position without adding that position to their contract for an addendum. And then, if it's in the contract, then you're gonna have to advertise it, I think, Gary.
Well, we do have a motion.
This is the way that Mark, when we met with Mark.
I'm gonna say, this is what
This is the
I understood
direction
from
he
Mark,
got.
anyway. Yeah.
We have a motion from Mr. Austin
I'll
to
second.
WJ?
move forward with the hire, and we have a second from Mr. Pittman. Barb, I wasn't meaning to,
That's okay, thank you.
I think it's just to create the position there first.
I think all we're doing really is creating a position.
all right, well,
So we have a motion from Mr. Austin, and we have a second from, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
WJ.
WJ. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any public comment under personnel? I think we can move on, Mayor.
all right, under the mayor's report, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thank you, City Council. I appreciate everything that you do, and thank you to all of our department heads for, making everything run so. I really appreciate it. Beyond that, I'll go to the council member requests. I'll go to Ms. Hughes.
I have nothing, thank you, except have a nice holiday, ladies and gentlemen.
Ms. Curry Witzman.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Mr. Austin.
No, I have nothing, Mayor, thank you.
Clerk Hunziker.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Pittman.
No.
Mr. Urvis.
Yes, I just echo your comment, Mayor. Happy Thanksgiving, thanks to all the staff and employees for the job they do.
Mr. McCall.
Yeah, shoot a deer and save a turkey.
Gary got his turkey.
Yeah, I don't-
Yeah. It's deer season, so you got one with the gun and with the car. It's a double trouble. Mr. Glad. All right, I'll go to department head requests. As you see, Ms. Ripley placed on the agenda. She wishes everyone a happy and blessed Thanksgiving.
As she lays on the beach.
Yes. Mr. Blake.
Nothing.
Mr. Evans.
Just to update the council where we are in the budget process, we have met with all the department heads, and we have gathered that data. And so we're in the process. When she is done vacationing, we'll get together and she'll do the salary part, and we'll fill it all out. So our hope is to have, a draft for you to look at the next council meeting.
Scott, when you get something, we send that out prior to council meeting?
Yeah, I suspect that'll probably be in the packets Friday before. That's our goal.
Chief McBride. Chief Ellemeyer. Mr. Manwaring.
Nothing.
Mr. Mills.
Nothing.
Mr. Sheffer.
Nothing.
Mr. Isert.
Nothing.
Mr. Lee. Ms. Volley. Mr. Gladson. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Please don't forget December 3rd.